everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we do have part 2 of the chapter 3 of the Wryz Saga 3. And of course, this does include the final boss fight. There's not much to say other than there is a little bit of commentary, a few kind of cutscenes in before the actual fight, and then after the fight there is a very nice and cinematic scene. So I guess I will stop talking now and let you watch the rest of the video in peace and recommence my commentary on the boss fight and my thoughts and strategies about that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you a little bit later on. And we're back. Again, for those who are just joining us, this will be the commentary for my thoughts and strategies about the final boss in Chapter 3 of the Wryz Saga 3. This boss does have multiple phases, and so I did try only a couple of times to defeat this boss. The fight itself is extremely long, so bear in mind what to expect. This is also on Master Mode. So first of all, we have to kill off the 2 minions before we even get to take on the Worm King. I guess you can do whatever strategies you want here. However, the minions are quite capable of killing you and your party. And so I would recommend doing 1 turn AF. The phases are as such. After you beat down both minions, then the Worm King will come on, kind of like how the Dark Salamander fight was. It'll almost change phases where the boss will kind of appear. You can bring it down to 150% HP stopper, after which it will break your zone. Then the 2 minions come back out for a second round, followed by, after you kill those 2, the final and second HP stopper of 50% does occur. So first turn AF, enhanced wind zone is active because we obviously have Sesta and 4 wind units up front. Zone is broken, which is unfortunate. And by the way, it hits you. You can clearly see it does a fair bit of damage. I'm not sure if it's fixed damage. It looks like 50% damage. However, Aesora can actually remove that with her critical guard. I did not activate any Noblesse Oblige or any sort of shielding. And so I just kind of took it, and the luck was able to overcome it so that she took no damage. Also, after that, you can just one-shot that if you do have a full SA Suzette. Loadout will be at the end of the very end of the video. And then you will have the 2 minions again. Now remember that in the beginning of the fight, we do have pain and poison on the enemy because we have an SA Suzette. However, that has now gone, and so if you are depending on pain and poison to damage the enemies, I would recommend reapplying. We use Demonic Thrust, and the great thing about Demonic Thrust is we are applying power in Int down 40, as well as we have Fleur Bleece, which is obviously Aesora's signature attack move, applying an additional 30-30 power int down. Between the 2 of them, and obviously with the Twin Blade Wolf killing off one of the minions, all the damage can be mitigated quite well. If you're worried, you've already cast some buffs on Aesora, and I don't believe the boss actually removed any of your buffs, at least not to my knowledge. And so you can actually cast the Noblesse Oblige if you really need something to tank it in that second part when the 2 minions come back out, while the rest of your units deal a ton of damage. Aesiva isn't necessary for this fight. However, obviously giving faith onto Sesta does allow her to do a lot of damage. Reflecting upon this fight, I think I may have actually wanted to give the faith onto my waifu Suzette, because she's actually the one doing more of the MVP, and you'll see why and what I mean later on. Now again, after killing the 2 minions on the second phase, the Worm King reappears, slaps your Awakened Zone away by breaking it, and that's pretty much it. Now, great thing is Aesora does have the ability to give 10% AF charge on every turn, and don't forget the SA Suzette, especially mine that have 4 slots for moves. One of the moves can establish Zone. Now, if you really need to, you can clearly use the Bolt of Bahamut to establish Zone. However, that does remove some of the stacks from your team, in which case you won't be doing nearly as much damage when you actually activate the SA moves. And so I decided to use the smaller thrust move from Suzette, which also sets normal zone. We don't have a unit here that can awaken zone again. We rely on Bolt of Bahamut in Stellar Burst to reawaken and reestablish zone. Good thing is the boss does not set any of their own zone, but they do have an aura there, and that's the one that obviously increases your MP consumption and reduces damage taken to the boss. After that first phase was over, I actually thought the fight was nice and simple. However, I was sorely mistaken. I wasted my AF there, and so knowing that, I wouldn't recommend using an AF at the second HP stopper or the second half of the bar there. If you can save your AF bar, then you can use it and kind of reserve your stuff for the second part of the fight, where Iridian now comes onto the battlefield and helps kind of keep you afloat as a floating island of sorts. In this case, the Iridian is a healing variety, so it's got a green belly, and I don't think that is needed. I don't think you have to have Iridian on your sidekick team, because I don't have it on my sidekick team. I also have had it preset to green already, which is the healing one. Not sure if you have to have it preset at that mode, or you can choose any mode and it'll still default on healing. So let me know in the comments below what you discovered. You can clearly see that with a green Iridian, it heals your team very similar to a Tetra. And note that the boss, whatever the environment is or whatnot, we are doing less healing. I don't know why, but you can clearly see that there's a 50 stack barrier, as well as the red orbs will just start stacking up and starting to remove and reduce your max HP and MP. If you happen to have a max HP of low enough, you're going to have no damage and you're going to lose the fight. So we're not going to get there. Now, one thing I find that's very, very cheap, note that we do have Barrier Pierce units. We actually have Bolt of Bahamut in Stellar Burst, as well as Twin Blade Wolf. It does not go through the barrier, because clearly orbs are meant to overcome or override any sort of normal rules we have in place. So bear that in mind, that straight Barrier Pierce will not be enough, and I don't like the fact that the game has come up with ways to kind of remove the moves you have and you paid a lot of Chrono Stones for. I mean, if you have Barrier Pierce, it should just be Barrier Pierce, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But no, they find ways to kind of mitigate that to make the boss harder. So again, the orbs are not Barrier Pierce. You actually have to do all 50 hits. So if you have units that can do tons of hits, or you save up an AF bar, you probably will be in very good shape. Again, note that on 3 stacks of attacks from AS Sora, we can apply up to 60-60 powered int down, as well as our 40-40 power int down with Suzette. That really does help control the fight. We also do have a tank if we really, really need it. And Iridian, with its support on healing, MP, and HP, will be enough to kind of help you through the majority of the fight. But as time goes on, if the fight extends too long, then your max HP will be reduced over time. So at some point here, we are blasting through all the different, the 50 hits, and you can see there's an HP stopper on top of those 50 hits. Didn't know when the HP stopper was. It looks like somewhere in the 20% mark. That is 80% left of the fight. Didn't really scan it, and it does have that hexagon giving it some additional lives or extra statuses. After the first HP stopper of the new Worm King fight, you take a bunch of damage. Not sure how the enemy targets or which units it targets. In this case, it targeted my middle 2 units. Not sure if it's just 2 random units or anything like that. Having Tetra, although its healing capabilities are reduced by a significant margin, Tetra still does a few hits every turn, which allows you to reduce the amount of orbs on the enemy. And I just want to demonstrate that the SA Suzette Barrier Pierce with Bolt of Bahamut does not do anything. It hits multiple times, however, it did not remove or go through the barrier, and so those 50 orbs are here to stay. We did count 3 hits towards the 50, so that helps a lot. But again, just the same mechanic, very frustrating, especially if you have units that can bypass barrier, and now we can't really. But at this point, I really wasn't in any danger of losing the fight, and so highly recommend having units that can apply both power and int debuff, dual debuff. We also do have type and physical shield from AS Yifa, and so obviously that fits really well on a wind team. I'm sure if you want to use a Melpy or other kind of similar kind of wind units to support, or if you have any sort of other fire teams or whatnot, just having tons and tons of debuffs are great. Anyways, at this point, we just AF'd it down because we can get down to the 50% barrier or HP bar, and it's actually kind of funny because in this next part, Iridian will actually start giving you full AF bars, and so it really isn't too difficult per se. It's just extremely long, and I do enjoy the fact that they said, oh, this is a battle which will change the fate of the world forever. So again, at the HP stopper, it blasts you with a lot. Not sure if it's fixed damage, not sure if it can kill you, but for sure, having shields, barriers, as well as dual debuffs will help control the fight. Note that at each HP stopper, buffs and debuffs are removed from the enemy, and not sure if it's actually removed from us as well. Looks like all my buffs and debuffs are not gone, because you can see my shields, physical and type shield from ASR are still there. All my boost from Twin Blade Wolf or Howling Wolf is also there. Also, remember that we did do a Stellar Burst earlier, so my active zone is still here. This version of Worm King does not break zone, and so even though we only have Awakened Zone for essentially 2+1 turns for a total of 3 turns, Twin Blade Wolf gets reactivated, and honestly, every 3 turns I'm getting a half AF bar anyways. I can AF and then charge up my SA gauge, which is obviously that yellow slash, round gauge, and I'll have enough to do an SA move, Stellar Burst, over and over again. So that's what I mean by not too difficult, especially again, we have the ability to attack every turn. We already have multiple debuffs on the enemy, and even though it removed it, we already applied, 30, 30, 40, 40, and so on and so forth. AFs make it a lot easier to penetrate through that barrier. And it does have 4 left, but not too big a deal. With all the debuffs in play, we really aren't worried. However, note that you can see our max HP bar starting to degrade over time. It's a slow burn, but still, we want to be quite careful that we don't lose. And Iridian really does help with the heal. So I note that again, I have my Iridian preset as a default to green, and I'm imagining that doesn't affect this fight, but who knows about that. Okay, so after that HP stopper, we just have to blast it down to 0. It's still alive, and now all of our units got hit for essentially 99% HP. Keep in mind that Critical Guard can survive that, and so I imagine if you use the Ultimate Defense ×3, aka AS Radius, or if you had an Efi-led team, I can't imagine that your unit won't be able to tank all that damage. But it is not a critical kill. It just leaves you at 1 HP, and Iridian gives you a full AF. My zone is gone because, like I said, I used my the Awakened Zone, and it fades after 3 turns. And again, I don't really have to worry about it. I can SA anytime. I don't even worry about having no Twin Blade Wolf because my units are dealing enough damage at this point. SA gauge is fully active and ready to go. I'm just reapplying my buffs, especially on ASR, because at this point, this was still my first couple of attempts at the boss, and I wasn't sure what to expect. So if you're not sure, you can Noblesse Oblige, but mainly apply tons and tons of debuffs on the enemy and put up your shields, physical and type shield. Also, I didn't really like that Tetra's moves are reduced in effectiveness. Still doesn't look like the heals are there because Iridian's essentially doing everything for us. So if you want to bring a different sidekick, you certainly can. I have Guns as my second, and so remember that once I drained the AF, the 20% boost to all your stats is permanent for the rest of the fight because we satisfied those conditions. Having fight a unit like, for example, Kumos to replenish MP and other things like that might be very useful. Or if you want to bring, for example, Ultra Lulu's sidekick that applies slash resist down, that might be something to consider as well. So, same thing as before. It regenerated its entire HP bar, and then you have the same kind of HP stoppers, one at 20%, one at 50%, and then from 50% to 0. Yeah, this is one of the longest side episode fights I've had in a storyline or side episode. Even main storyline doesn't have that many phases, but I will give it to the devs in the fact that even though it's annoying and had all the multi-hit barriers, it wasn't insurmountable. And keep in mind, this is on Master Mode, which is the hardest level you can have. You can always set the difficulty lower right before entering the fight, just to beat it and get your rewards. Remember that if you watch this video and you finish the Chapter 3 before the end of April, you will get an extra 500 stones bonus. And they sometimes do have campaigns where if you haven't finished it and you came back to the game much later or just started the game later, you will get those 500 stones at some point with those catch-up campaigns or whatnot. Alright, so at this point, hey, we got another AF bar. Blast away. we had to just wear down those shields, those orbs, and then, game over. Another HP stopper at 80%, aka 20% HP left. And clearly the fight, the devs do want you to win, giving you full AF bars, kind of like against Aldo SA fight. Okay. Not much of anything. More healing, full AF. And we're on the final phase. This is everything I've got. And then we're going to end it because, Wryz is ready to go and pierce that black heart. Okay. So again, one hit, critical guard activated because of the high innate luck. And don't forget, you need a crit guarantee on 100% on Aesora, which she has a void weapon anyways. And then that's it. Another AF away, and you won, which I was actually very surprised. So remember that for newer players to the game, the fight is over when all the buffs and debuffs are gone. In this case, you can see no symbols. And so, just for kicks, I decided to activate my SA move and then activate Twin Blade Wolf just to beat it down a little bit more for fun. Alright, so Barrier Pierce kind of got thwarted, but our team did not get thwarted and we took it down. Fight is a lot longer than I expected, and I'm not sure how many low turn clears I could really do with this, but hopefully that demonstrates some of the mechanics with the fight. I imagine, again, just like earlier iterations of the Dark Realm kind of enemies, do not bring Shade teams. I only brought a Wind team, and it seems neutral. I'm not sure if it's weak or vulnerable to any other elements, but honestly, that was more than adequate to clear the fight. After this, there's some more dialogue, storyline, and then the ending credits, which have, like kind of cutscenes and kind of ending music and so on and so forth. So I'll let you enjoy that after this. And then at the very end, you do unlock the newest dungeon for Wryz, which obviously you can grind out some points and crystals for extra rewards like Chrono Stones and Chant Scripts and so on and so forth, as well as a new challenge. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
遥か彼方の電車を闇はむ流砂島にか細き腕勇みたち戦う少女がいた。誰も知らぬ